The first signal arrived at 2:17 Coordinated Universal Time, slipping through the noise of cosmic radiation like a whisper through a crowded room. Dr. Alara Mendez had been awake for 32 hours when it happened. The Deep Space Listening Array in the Atacama Desert was not known for miracles. It cataloged pulsars, mapped quasars, and gathered endless static from the dark ocean between stars. Most nights were monotonous: coffee, data streams, and the hum of cooling systems beneath a cold Chilean sky. But this signal was different. It repeated every 19 seconds. Not random, not natural. A precise pattern embedded in radio frequencies that did not correspond to any known pulsar or satellite. The modulation shifted in prime number intervals, 2, 3, 5, 7, like a mathematician knocking on Earth's door. Alara stared at the waveform projected across her screen. "This isn't background noise," she whispered. Her colleague, Dr. Hassan Okoye, rubbed his eyes and leaned closer. "Could be a glitch." Glitches don't count in prime numbers. They recalibrated the array. They ran diagnostics. They checked for interference from orbiting debris, rogue satellites, and classified military transmissions. The signal persisted. 3 hours later, it changed. The prime numbers were replaced with a simple binary sequence, one that translated into a grid. When plotted visually, the grid formed an image. A circle. Inside it, a shape like a branching tree. And beneath it, a smaller circle. Planet.
Star.
Moon, Hassan breathed. Alara felt her pulse thunder in her ears. They weren't alone. Within 24 hours, governments knew. Within 48, the world did. The United Nations convened an emergency session. Military satellites pivoted toward the source. Social media ignited with panic, celebration, conspiracy. The signal originated from Proxima Centauri b, an exoplanet scientists had long speculated might host liquid water. At just over 4 light-years away, it was humanity's closest stellar neighbor. The message grew more complex over the next week. It encoded atomic structures: hydrogen, carbon, oxygen. Then came something astonishing. A transmission showing a double helix. DNA. They knew what life was. Or they had it. The reply took months to prepare. Humanity debated what to send. A greeting in every language? A map of our solar system? A warning? In the end, they transmitted mathematics, physics, a simple audiovisual file of Earth, oceans, forests, cities, the sounds of wind and laughter, and finally, a message spoken in dozens of tongues. "We're here. We're listening. We seek peace." The signal traveled into the void at light speed. For years later, the answer arrived. By then, Alara was director of the First Contact Initiative. The world had changed in the waiting. Space agencies merged resources. Defense budgets ballooned. Religious movements splintered. Humanity stood on a knife edge between unity and fear. The reply did not come as radio waves. It came as light. A vessel entered the solar system silently, bending space around it like water parting around a stone. It decelerated without visible propulsion and took orbit near Jupiter. Its design defied expectation. No harsh angles. No obvious weapons. It resembled a crescent shell, luminous and fluid, as though grown rather than built. Panic rippled through Earth. The object emitted a narrowband transmission directed at the Deep Space Listening Array, the same installation that had first heard them. And the message contained one line, translated with eerie precision into English. "We request parley. One representative. No weapons." The United Nations chose Alara. She had heard their first whisper. She would answer their first words. Middle, the encounter. The shuttle carried her alone. She floated in microgravity as the crescent vessel loomed ahead, dwarfing the human craft. Its surface shimmered faintly blue, rippling like bioluminescent skin. "Remember," Mission Control said in her earpiece, "you are Earth." No pressure. The alien craft opened, not mechanically, but organically. A seam formed, unfolding into a chamber of soft, radiant light. Her shuttle docked. Her heart pounded so violently she wondered if it would echo through the hull. The inner chamber held breathable air. That in itself was staggering. The composition wasn't identical to Earth's atmosphere, but close enough. They had studied humanity thoroughly. She stepped inside. The walls pulsed faintly, like living tissue. No sharp edges. No visible technology. The air hummed, not audibly, but in her bones, as though the structure resonated at a frequency just beyond hearing. Then she saw her. The being stood at the far end of the chamber. Humanoid, but taller, slender, luminous. Skin like polished pearl, faintly iridescent. Large, dark eyes reflecting starlight. No visible hair. No clothing in the human sense. Instead, intricate patterns of light traced across her form, shifting like constellations. Alara's breath caught. The alien inclined her head. A voice sounded, not through speakers, but directly within Alara's mind.
"Clear. Calm.
"I am Sarilith of the Aethari." Alara swallowed. "I'm Dr. Alara Mendez, representative of Earth." A pause. The alien's luminous patterns shifted gently. "We have waited long for this moment." "So have we." Sarilith approached slowly, movements fluid and deliberate. Not predatory, not submissive, measured. Alara noticed subtle differences beyond the surface. Sarilith's pupils expanded and contracted independently. Her chest did not rise with breath in the same rhythm as a human's. And around her, the air seemed warmer. "We were told you wanted parley," Alara said carefully.
"Yes."
"But also caution. Your species is divided. Fear radiates from your world." Alara couldn't deny it. Military fleets hovered in orbit around Earth. Nuclear arsenals remained armed. "Fear is new for us," she said. "So is you." Sarilith tilted her head. "We are explorers. We do not conquer, but we are not naive. We know what young civilizations do when frightened. And what do older civilizations do?" A faint flicker of something amusement passed across the alien's features. "We attempt patience." Over hours that felt like minutes, they spoke. The Aethari had evolved on a world of vast oceans and luminous forests beneath a red dwarf sun. Their biology was partially photonic, cells capable of storing and emitting light as communication. Their vessels were grown from bioengineered matrices, symbiotic rather than mechanical. They had discovered Earth decades earlier through atmospheric spectroscopy. Oxygen, industrial pollutants, radio chatter. They had debated whether to approach. Many among them argued humanity was too volatile, too violent. What changed their minds? Alara asked. Sarilith's gaze softened. "I did. You." "I am of the Convergent Circle, those who seek contact. I believed your species capable of growth, of empathy." Alara felt an unexpected warmth in her chest. "You staked your reputation on us."
"Yes."
A long silence settled between them. Back on Earth, military analysts demanded schematics. Intelligence agencies pressed for weaknesses. Political leaders argued over treaties not yet written. But inside the crescent vessel, two beings stood alone beneath alien light. "There's something else," Sarilith said at last. The words did not enter Alara's ears. They bloomed inside her mind. "Your neural patterns are compatible." "Compatible with what?" Saralith stepped closer. Alara felt it then, a subtle pressure behind her thoughts, like fingertips brushing the edge of her consciousness. Not intrusion. Invitation. The Aethari bond, through resonance. Shared thought. Shared sensation. It deepens understanding beyond language. Alara's pulse raced. You want to merge minds. Briefly. With consent. It would allow us to know whether peace is possible. Truly possible. Mission Control's voice crackled faintly in her ear, asking for updates. She muted it. This was not something committees could decide. What are the risks? Emotional exposure. Vulnerability. For both of us. Alara hesitated. Human history flashed before her mind. Wars, greed, love, art, sacrifice. Could she bear to show all of it? Could humanity survive being seen completely? And if we refuse? Saralith's light dimmed slightly. Then we proceed cautiously. Slowly. Decades of negotiation. Suspicion lingering. And if we accept, then we step beyond fear. Alara inhaled. Then let's step. The contact was not physical at first. Saralith extended her hand. Not 5 fingers, but elongated, luminous tendrils of light weaving together. Alara removed her glove. Their skin met. The universe shattered. She felt oceans beneath a crimson sky. Schools of bioluminescent creatures darting through alien seas. The collective hum of Aethari cities grown from coral-like spires. The sensation of sharing thoughts in open communion. No lies. No secrets. And then Saralith saw Earth. The first cry of a newborn. Rain on asphalt. A violin's trembling note in a dim concert hall. The horror of mushroom clouds. The grief of mass graves. The fragile, stubborn hope of people marching for peace. Pain lanced through Alara as centuries of human cruelty spilled outward. She tried to pull away, but Saralith held firm. Not to trap. To steady. We are not afraid of your darkness, Saralith whispered inside her mind. We have our own. Alara saw flashes, Aethari factions arguing over isolationism. Ancient conflicts long resolved. Mistakes buried in time. They were not perfect. They were simply older. The resonance deepened. Emotion blurred into something intimate, raw. Alara felt Saralith's curiosity, admiration, and something else. Attraction. The connection sharpened, electric and undeniable. Not just species to species. Individual to individual. Alara gasped as sensation flooded her nervous system. Not physical touch, but a merging of awareness so profound it eclipsed language. It was a forbidden intimacy. Human protocol forbade unsanctioned biological exchange. Aethari law prohibited deep bonding with pre-alliance civilizations. They were breaking rules written in caution. But in that shared space, rules felt distant. There was only presence. Only understanding. Only the quiet realization that across light years of emptiness, 2 minds could meet and not recoil. When they finally separated, Alara collapsed to her knees, trembling. Saralith knelt beside her. Are you harmed? No, Alara whispered. Tears streamed down her face. Changed. Conflict. Earth did not respond well. When Alara reported the mind link, outrage erupted. Politicians accused her of compromising security. Religious leaders called it spiritual contamination. Military officials demanded she be quarantined. She allowed direct neural contact with an unknown entity, one senator shouted during a broadcast hearing. It was mutual, Alara replied calmly. And it proved something. That they can manipulate us? That they can feel. But fear spread faster than understanding. Meanwhile, within the Aethari convergence circle, dissent intensified. Sarilith faced criticism for bonding too deeply. Some claimed humanity's volatility posed an existential threat. You risk entanglement, one elder warned her through communal resonance. Attachment clouds judgment. Sarilith did not deny it. She had felt Alera's resilience, her fierce compassion, the trembling vulnerability beneath her composure. It stirred something ancient in her, something personal. Tensions escalated when an unauthorized human probe attempted to scan the Aethari vessel at close range. Defensive systems activated automatically, disabling the probe with a pulse of electromagnetic force. No one was harmed, but headlines screamed, "Alien weapon discharges near Earth orbit." Militaries moved to high alert. The fragile bridge began to crack. Aethari requested a second meeting. Against advice from nearly every government on Earth, she returned to the Crescent vessel. Sarilith awaited her. "Your world trembles," she said gently. "So does yours." They stood closer this time, the air between them charged with unspoken emotion. "We need something stronger than treaties," Aethari said. "Something symbolic, irreversible." Sarilith's eyes darkened slightly. "You suggest another joining?"
Public.
Yes. It was madness. If they linked again, broadcasting their shared resonance to both species, it would expose them utterly. Every doubt, every affection, every forbidden spark between them. Sarilith stepped forward. "You understand the consequences?"
For you?
"I do. Humanity might reject her. The Aethari might censure Sarilith. But without trust, first contact would collapse into Cold War. Will you stand with me?" Aethari asked softly. Sarilith reached out. "Always." Ending the embrace. The broadcast reached billions. On Earth, screens flickered to life. In Aethari oceanic cities, luminous towers pulsed with communal attention. Two figures stood within the Crescent chamber. A human woman, an alien emissary. Aethari spoke first. "We stand at the edge of fear. Today we choose something else." Sarilith extended her luminous hand. They touched. The resonance exploded outward, not as overwhelming as before, but controlled, focused. Human minds glimpsed alien seas. Aethari consciousness felt human music. Grief met empathy. Curiosity met wonder. And beneath it all, unmistakable and bright, was the bond between Aethari and Sarilith. Not conquest, not submission, connection. Some recoiled, some wept, some felt hope bloom for the first time since the vessel arrived. When the link faded, silence blanketed two worlds. Then, slowly, Earth's communication networks filled not with panic, but with awe. Children drew pictures of red suns and blue oceans intertwined. Artists composed symphonies inspired by alien harmonics. Scientists proposed collaborative research. The Aethari convergence circle shifted. Opposition softened. An agreement was drafted, not of alliance or technology exchange, but of cultural partnership. Gradual, transparent. Trust would not be instant, but it had begun. Months later, the Crescent vessel prepared to depart orbit and establish a shared research station in deep space, a neutral ground. Aethari stood once more inside its luminous chamber. "You're leaving," she said quietly. "Not leaving. Expanding the bridge." She smiled faintly. "Will I see you again?" Sarilith stepped closer. "Our paths are now intertwined. Across stars, resonance persists." Aethari felt it, a subtle hum at the edge of her awareness, like a distant melody she would never entirely lose. "Was it forbidden?" she asked softly. Sarilith's eyes shimmered.
Yes.
Was it worth it? A gentle pulse of warmth flowed between them.
Yes.
They embraced, not mind to mind this time, but physically. human arms around luminous alien form. A simple gesture, a revolutionary act. When Aethari returned to Earth, she was no longer merely a scientist. She was proof. Proof that first contact need not begin with weapons raised. That vulnerability could be strength. That across light years of darkness, understanding was possible. Above, the crescent vessel glided away from Jupiter, sunlight glinting off its living hull. Two civilizations watched, and somewhere between them, invisible but unbreakable, stretched a forbidden embrace that had become the foundation of a new era. The stars no longer felt so silent. They felt alive.